Hello and welcome to episode 60 of our Conversations to Connect. Let's Get Real Talk, powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi ONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. At Exceptional Connections, we offer intentional and innovative solutions to boost your business. Each month, we nominate different members of our community to have meaningful conversations with. So be sure to make yourself comfortable with a cup of tea or a beverage of your choice. Take notes and be sure to add comments and questions to the chat box to engage with us during our conversation. So around the 45 to 50-minute mark, I'll unmute the lines and invite our listeners to ask questions, share their ahas, epiphanies, and of course, enter into our thought-provoking conversation. So in the course of these 60 episodes, we've encouraged and supported our community to stay connected during these challenging and uncertain times. So as we get started here, I invite you to just set aside distractions and invest your attention in the conversation that's about to unfold, and just look for one idea that you can put into action so that you don't cheat yourself out of the time you've invested here. So our conversation to connect this week is with the amazing Marcelle Allen from Mill Creek, Washington. Welcome, Marcelle.
Hey, Cyndi, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and talking about one of my favorite topics. So
Yes, and we were so honored to have you share with our Exceptional Connections July community, such a timely topic with summer and all things beautiful in the garden. And so today we're going to be talking about the Revenue Ringlet. And so before I bring you in, I want to take a moment to introduce our listeners to you and just read a quick short bio so they can learn more about you. And then I'm going to toss it over to you. How's that sound?
Excellent.
All right. So Marcelle Allen supports business owners in understanding the patterns of their sales systems, marketing efforts, and financial results with a circular diagram. She wants you to get curious and confident about your financial situation while leveraging social media to grow your business. Marcelle is a numbers nerd in a good way, and her nickname is Hallmark. She helps clients with marketing, advertising, and is the creative force behind her consulting agency, Dreamosity. Over the years, her message has been shared in New York Times, King 5, and recently 3 times in a local radio show called The Money Hour with Tina Mitchell. Her new book is called Financial Joy, Know the Data Behind Your Dreams, and her signature program is called the Revenue Ringlet. So Marcelle, go ahead and share a little bit more about your journey before you jump into talking about the Revenue Ringlet.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I went to Western here locally in Washington State. I got a degree with business and English minors. And right after college, I went to a corporate job where I hated it. They put this butterfly in a box, and I was living the cubicle dream for not that long. And I remember leaving that job, and I was like, Dad, isn't there a company out there that just helps people build their dreams? And he was like, no, honey, get a real job. And I was like, So anyway, I started this little website called Dreamosity, and it started out just helping people edit blog posts. It was really simple. It was like, I think it was $20 or $30 an hour just to edit blog posts. And I would just edit other, owners, they like I had a photographer client, and I just would help her take her beautiful photos and get them on the internet so people could see them. So it started really small, and it's built out from there over the last 15 years. So.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. And you are so gifted, and I love your creativity. So let's jump in and tell us more about Revenue Ringlet and data art and your different stages of data art.
Yeah, so if anybody were just to Google data art, I didn't come up with the concept, but there are 4 main steps to it, where you collect the data, clean it, analyze it, and share it. Because as we all know, if you open up a typical financial report, it's not very attractive or beautiful, or maybe a good story is not being told, or we don't understand the story of what should be being told. So for me, over the years, I've always had clients say, well, show me the ROI, and I'm not going to keep working if we don't, make our money's back. And so there was always this like pressure for me to have this financial acumen. And so over the years, I had to get really good at understanding like how did all these reports make sense. And really the profit and loss statement, it is great at calculating your result, but it's not a great storyteller. It doesn't show you where your habits were weak or strong, or where you were courageous, or where you totally just didn't even get up to bat, right? It doesn't explain that. And so when I created this circular diagram, I wanted to tell the story of activity, of sales activity specifically, so people could understand that sure, social media is important, but we can't stop. Like I think I've had clients in the past where they're just like, well, nobody did anything. And I'm like, the social media doesn't replace your sales behavior, right? If that makes sense. And so I wanted people to understand, my clients specifically, that they still needed to get up to bat. They needed to have important conversations. They need to put out the proposals and do the closing. My role as a social media manager wasn't just to be their salesperson. It was to get them opportunity, to help them navigate the internet, help them with video. And so having them have a process to go back and realize, well, what was their role versus my role? Because they're not the same. And that's where I've constantly been a cheerleader for people to win. And I also get that some months, it's not easy, and so part of the visualization, like the flowers, it's supposed to make it like, in art, they call it mark making, where you just make a mark, and it's like an abstract thing, right? There's no real significance. The mark making with data art is signifying a piece of data in a way where we're emotionally saying, I am thankful for this opportunity. I am thankful for this conversation. I'm thankful for this check I got. I'm thankful for this, this book I sold, or whatever it is. It slows people down, and a little bit of that law of attraction element of like, I'm grateful for the money that's coming and the money that's going, versus, oh, I have to go to the dentist, or oh, I have to, do something difficult. So I'm trying to bring in this element of beauty and appreciation to kind of a stale and intimidating industry. So it's kind of fun.
So it's really, yes, I love that you're really having people slow down enough to notice the activity that's happening in their business. And, for a business owner myself, it's to encourage us. And it's also to have us be aware. So it's like where maybe we need more activity, right? Maybe we're putting all of our energy into something that's not income producing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where like video can definitely support your business, but it doesn't replace the fact you still need to talk to people eye to eye, belly to belly, shake the hands, get the hugs, high five. Like there's still a lot that needs to happen. And social media is wonderful, but it doesn't replace a good sales system, if that makes sense.
Well, and also just human connection.
Yeah. And
We've
that's what
learned that from all that we've been through in the last couple of years. That's really an invaluable thing in any business, is to have that human connection.
Yeah. And typically in marketing, there's phrases like prospects or leads, and those kind of make me twinge, because I'm like, they're people. They are my sister's friends, or my mom's friends, or my clients' friends. Like these are people, and they all
Right.
have a vision, a dream, a sphere of influence. And so to me, it's not always about how many prospects did I get, but did I have conversations where there was an exchange? And if I could offer a solution, did I swoop in and take it, or did I let someone else take it? And so that's where it can be really interesting to notice our own behavior over time.
Right. No, I love that. And that's so true, because it's just, to me, it's about connections. It's not about prospects.
Yeah.
It's how many connections do you make, right?
Absolutely.
And that helps drive and move your business forward.
Yeah. Do you want me to show the weekly thing that we had at the speech so Judy can see it, or
Oh, yeah. However you want to set the foundation for this conversation, because, we want to be able to really understand your process, and your slides are so beautiful and illustrate so nicely,
Thank you. Let's see if I can
your
switch
concept.
here. So I'm going to I'll walk through this fairly quickly, but I want to show our viewers. So in Financial Joy, I basically took the 30-day calendar and I turned it into a circle, where kind of as a reflection at the end of the month, somebody could go back and just kind of notice like how many, like say on the first of the month, I had 5 conversations. The second of the month, I only had maybe 2 conversations and 1 sales appointment. And I define a sales appointment anytime you actually mention the amount of money and you ask for the order. And then maybe on the third day, I have 5 conversations and 1 sales appointment. But let's say I don't get the proposals out for a couple of days. So on the 4th day, I send out 2 proposals. The 5th day, I have 3 conversations. Maybe I take a day off and then I have another 4 conversations. So this is in addition to all the fun social media, video and memes and blogging, all the other activity. This is to go back and look at what were my revenue producing activities? What did I actually do to make money? So month or week 2, maybe I had 6 conversations and 1 sales appointment, 2 conversations. And this is where I'm actually talking to people. These are not comments. I encourage people to leave 10 to 30 comments a day, right? Because that can then get you more real conversations. And then the next day, maybe I sent out 3 proposals. Oh, look, and somebody paid. Someone paid. So out of all these proposals, someone pays. Not everybody's going to pay. That's okay. But you start to find a rhythm. And then the next day, maybe there was 3 conversations, 1 sales appointment and 1 proposal. Another day with no activity, just needed to introvert maybe that day. And the next day I have 3 conversations. So moving forward to week 3, you can kind of see how a month is going to progress. Maybe I have another mellow day, 1 sales appointment, 9 conversations. Maybe I go to Exceptional Connections and I have 9 great conversations, belly to belly. I get the hug and the handshake, and I actually check in on Chuck and Cyndi and Charlie, and I get to say hello. Those are all conversations. It doesn't mean they're a sales appointment, but if somebody says, "Hey, Marcelle, how much is your book?" And I'm like, "It's $20. Do you want a copy?" That would then count for 1 sales appointment if I were to actually talk about what I do and how much. And then let's ask for the next day, a couple conversations and 1 paid invoice from one of these proposals. And then, 2 more conversations, a proposal, another day off, and then maybe 8 conversations. Maybe I'm at church and I'm talking to a bunch of people. All right. So you start to see these patterns. And then at the end of the month, all that activity, there's a net profit. There is either a win, and depending, if you're selling a $80 item, it's very different if you're selling a $2,000 item. But at the end of the month, all that revenue minus those expenses, there's a net profit. And this is where we can pay ourselves from, right? And so a lot of people don't pay themselves from their business, or they should be. And so if there's no profit, you don't get to take owner's draws, right? Which is where a lot of people can get stuck. And it's very frustrating on those months when there's not excess. And so, but if we go on for 6 months and we don't realize what is it that I'm doing as the owner of the business to make the change, maybe I need to have better conversations. Maybe I need to improve the design of my proposal. Maybe my proposal has too many industry jargony words and nobody knows what I'm saying, so they keep saying no, right? Like, we've got to fix those solutions each month in order to grow that net profit and that revenue. So that's the gist of it. And then I'm just doing the fruit thing, honestly, to make it simple and funny. I co-own Laugh Tech with Brian Trendler, and if it's not fun, I'm not doing it, type of thing. And so I wanted to make it silly and playful and kind of juicy, if you will. Like, I want people to have fun and be like, "Oh my gosh, I got a banana," or "I got a watermelon," or "Wow, I really, 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 really hard and I only got a strawberry. Why did that happen?" Right? Because it changes the conversation. Any age business owner could embrace this concept, and it really is the fruits of our labor. So that's the gist of it. And then I'm just going to fast forward here. I like to do every month a little bit different colors, because different months have different flavors, seasons. Like your typical profit and loss statement is pretty boring. It's black text on white paper. There's no emotion to it. There's no, "Hey, I'm taking responsibility for," like in this month, running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, getting 9 checks. Like, that's a lot more than some months. Not every month are 9 checks moving. Some people might have 20 checks. It depends. And this was the slide I skipped over, Cyndi, in the thing. I saw Chuck's timer go up and I was like, I'm trying to make this point that, so the circle is 30 days, but depending how much your perceived expertise is in the marketplace and how large your audience is. So this one on the left here, say you're pretty new to the game and you've got a fairly small audience at this point, every month it's going to have a different result. But if you're talking to the same 30, same 40 people, maybe in your small town, that's going to have a different result than if you've had, 20 years in the game, you've published a bunch of books, you've been on TV, and then you accelerate, right? There are different ways that Ringlet may show up. And so each of you could look at this matrix and say, well, I probably have, 100 people on my email list, and I've got a Facebook group of 300, and I'm seen as a thoughtful, maybe not an expert, but I'm well known. You might be able to say, okay, well, I'm sitting up here. Right. And some months you might do some advertising where you're actually getting to stage 4 or 5, like paid advertising, paying Facebook for exposure. And some months you might, like, I know Cyndi and I in our health journeys, there's some months we're snails by choice, and we're choosing to slow down to heal, where we don't want massive exposure and a ton of people calling us. Like, we want to just kind of take our own pace. And so this is just a framework. The Ringlet over time is because every month is different. None of us are robots. Sure, we may have automation set up, but the internet changes every month. There's new people on the scene. There's different topics, right? And so our business's ability to stay focused on those revenue producing activities can be challenged, like whether it's AI or Pinterest or Threads or TikTok. Like, there's all these things that come out and distract us, and it's like, wait, are we having conversations, or am I just learning a new software? Am I just learning a new platform? And it's like, okay, but what if I'm just building a new sphere of influence on that platform? So that's the Ringlet piece. And this is where, when we do our data art demonstration, we can actually look at, well, how do I decide which quadrant I'm in? Because some of you here may be playing in stage 3 pretty frequently. Some of you might be up here in like MVP or AAA stage 1. If you just got your business card, you were down here in rookie stage 1. Now, doesn't mean a rookie can't go out here and reach 10,000 people. So like, rookies are great hustlers because they're not afraid to just get up to bat and go, right? Sometimes when we're over analytical is when we're actually challenged in speed and audience size. So any questions on these 2 illustrations here?
We're going to try to open for questions at the end. So
Okay.
if you have a question, put it in the chat box and we'll address it at the end. That way we won't get.
And then this was a new thing I introduced to your group around, because I always talk about, do video and not necessarily just video to your personal profile, but what about in groups or in communities where you can grow your influence, essentially. And there's a lot of thought leaders out there talking about, thought leadership or influence. And I'm literally like, okay, I have to somehow measure this, because audience size is not the only way. And honestly, some of my clients who have had big egos in the past, it's like they walk in some room and nobody knows who they are, right? Because people don't follow them on that platform. And so this is kind of a fun way to look at, like, right now, I think everybody here I've met in person several times. And so I feel like, me, I know you, right? People on the internet may have never met me though. So they're like, who is this gal? But it's just a way to thoughtfully think about, within your sphere of influence, do you have influence or knownness? Or do you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, I know nobody here. I hope there's good food at least. We've all had those networking events where we're like, so think about this. What group do you know where everybody knows your name? Like, where are you super, super, super well known? Like, Chuck, for you at ECN, we all know you and love you and support you because Cyndi raves about you, right? So you have a lot of influence in ECN. Now, if you were to walk into some random networking group in a town you've never been to, you might be kind of an unknown source. Any of us would be, right? And this is one of the things where I'm trying to help my clients. And it's a weird ego thing, you guys, because we think we know so much and we've done so much. And darn, I've written 100 blog posts. Y'all should know my work by now. But a lot of people don't know your work by now. And that's okay. But if we can look at it with some critical thinking and say, well, how could I grow my influence in a community? And is that my goal? Right? Because sometimes the goal is not to make more money. Sometimes we've got enough clients where we're actually at a content place where we need to become more well-known, which is a different objective in marketing than just taking care of your clients, right?
I love this idea of opacity, because you're right. I mean, you're still a person, you exist, you have value, you know things, but not everybody knows who you are.
Yes.
And there's different settings in which that shifts. You could be a rock star in one organization and totally unknown in another. And so I just love this. You're so creative in how you look at things. And I just, I think this is fun.
Yeah, thanks. And then if we go a little bit further with it, I just wanted to show people that, say you're having some strawberry habits, you're consistently hitting maybe $4,000 in net profit a month. My hunch is your marketing efforts are having a reach about like this. And I could be wrong. It might be smaller, it might be more. But I know that for the accounts, when I'm helping a client make over $10,000 a month, we're doing much more than the 50-person radius, right? Unless they have a really great sales team. But even then, the sales team is now being prompted to share videos, to, move this content into other Facebook groups to kind of expand the territory. And that's where anybody can do this. But I just kind of got tired of having the same habits of like, well, why doesn't social media work? And I'm like, well, let's ask different questions, because people always ask me, oh, Marcelle, how many times should I post on the internet? And I'm like, what if it was, how many places should I be posting a day on the internet? And I actually got that concept from my mom. She was a phenomenal saleswoman, and she had a very defined sales territory, and she would hit her different places every day, and she would go and shake hands at the offices. She was in the mortgage business, but she had a territory and she knew where to go, where the people were. And so for you, as you look at the internet, where are your people at? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they in Facebook groups? Are they at happy hour having, a shot of tequila? Like, where are your people? Because you want to be having conversations with them. And that's
where they're at.
Yeah, where they're at, because yeah, thank you. And people get a little bit overwhelmed when I say this, but I think you should have 5 to 25 potential communities that you are networking in.
Wow.
5 is great to get started, but eventually you're going to become well known. And if those, say, 30 times 5 people don't need your stuff, you can't just stop, right? Like, you got to find a new territory, a new community where maybe everybody in that group has that issue, or only 2 people have that issue. And so then it's, you don't stop marketing, you just market differently in different, kind of fishing in different ponds, if you will.
So this is both virtual and live events, right?
Yeah. Because you and I, Cyndi, we've networked in events together for years, but we also network online, right? And in your group, and in, and then over here on this watermelon one, these are videos. Like, some of your videos in a month might get 1,000 views. Some might get 20,000 views. Some might get 40 views. And so the view alone does not replace, these activities. And that's where oftentimes, people want the video to like equal views. Now, a good sales funnel can absolutely bring you views, right? And so I have funnel over here, because a funnel, if you're targeting, say, 34-year-old women who are single and they want to find love, and you're a romance coach, you can find tens of thousands of those women across the United States, right? But if you're just targeting one of them a month, that funnel, there's no real traffic coming through that. And so there's different ways to win, and the habits that get you here aren't going to get you here, right? You've eventually got to grow into a more complex sales funnel, or better networking circuit, if you will.
Right.
And that's
well, and we can work harder or smarter, right? And so, I'm thinking about your continuum of all your different fruits, and then the monetary value that you placed on each one. And so, like, the 1,000 was blueberries, so you could do 10 blueberries or 1 watermelon, right?
Yeah.
And so it just depends on, it's, in the end, it's the same monetary value, but how much energy went into those. And maybe those 10 1,000 ones were just automatic and you didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people don't even, another metric I like to measure is like, what's your average transaction size? Because I remember several years ago, my average transaction size was about $250. And I was doing a lot of $250 transactions, which I'm grateful for that. And now I'm like, how can I get my average transaction size to be $800 or a different amount? I can have a couple, $1,700 or $1,500 clients, but I don't want, like, personally, I don't want to have 30 of those. Like, that's too much work, right? So then you start to reorganize your business model to fit a pricing, and that's maybe too complex for today, but we can choose what we sell, right? You don't have to sell what you
Right.
sell on day one. You can
Right.
sell a new offer. And that's where the creativity and those conversations, if somebody keeps telling you they wish there was a this, go create it.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they want something different that's never been on the marketplace before. And that's where that listening is not always just, I'm having conversations because that's what I'm told to do, but what are you learning from that? What
Right.
opportunities are you identifying? How can you solve them with your current skill set?
Right. Well, what I'm hearing you say is just we need to pay attention. Pay attention to what the consumer wants, pay attention to the activity in our organization and what we need to adjust, what we need to, focus on. Isn't that always the case? Don't we always have to notice things and pay attention to them before we can really take effective action?
Exactly. And so this is one of my frameworks over here. I call it remarkable leadership, but down here is content consumption, right? So right now you guys are listening to me and to Cyndi, and you're watching and you're hearing things, but later you might hear the radio in the car, or you might scroll your feed and just see people's videos, right? So we're always consuming. Now, some of us are creating. We're giving a presentation. We're doing the dance on TikTok. We're rehearsing the sales script. We're writing poetry. We're making music, right? Like, creating content is a different skill set than consuming. Now, up here I have thought leadership, and this is a big term in the industry where you're an author, you're an expert, you're on stages, you've got a unique perspective that other people don't. And then I've advanced it to this new thing called a visual leader, because to me, when I look at content creation, I want the content to visually lead people to make a decision where I or whoever doesn't have to be present to win. So the thought leader model is very much you're the only one that knows the way. Whereas I want to be training my clients to make visual content that helps people make a decision. And sometimes that decision is to hire you. And sometimes that decision is to get excited about a banana or a raspberry. Or maybe the decision, like Cyndi, is to start to develop their own garden, right? So you're visually leading people to make decisions. And then you go back through it, right? You consume somebody else's content and you're like, oh, how'd they do that? I wonder if I could do that. And that's where content creation becomes fun, when you realize that there is a cycle to creating content. It's not just the same video every month, because every month you're going to have new information to empower, to encourage, to up level, to clarify, to improve. And that to me is like, people always wonder, like, why are you so excited about the internet? I'm like, it is such an exciting time to be alive. There are so many people doing great things with what they know and who they know. And it's like, this collaborative magic is just happening out there. And I want to invite you all to play at whatever level you're comfortable with. We're all at different places financially and physically and socially, but get in the game. Ask Cyndi to interview her. Ask Chuck to interview him. Try to record a reel. Like, there's all these ways. But as I always kind of tell people that my role with clients is people get stuck at different places. And so to have someone come alongside them, it's going to help them go through this funnel faster. So then we're looking at, well, how did that campaign go last month? Great, you made $2,800. What would you like to make next month? Half the time people don't even have a goal. And I'm like, well, and then it goes into all these different visuals that can help steer people to make better decisions.
So Marcelle, you just said something that I really love, and I think it really kind of ties a bow around a lot of your concepts. And in terms of choice, like you say, people get stuck at different places, people have different needs, all of that. But when you say you can help people buy the fruit, right? Or you can encourage them to grow their own garden. So when I think about that, I think about, they can buy one of your packages and request some of your, whatever your services, different fruit, different services that you have to offer, that you put in your cart or your basket and you take home with you, right?
Mhm.
In the end, there's a total, there's an amount that they pay you, or you can give them the tools to grow their own garden.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, and that's where my model has been split
Very
between,
empowering.
yeah, digital management of managing it for and with clients versus, my meetup, developing digital you, training them to do it themselves. Go to bat
Mhm.
for yourself, go network, go, practice your scripts, add value to the community. And then, let's come back and discuss how it went if
Mhm.
they want to do coaching. But
Mhm.
yeah, every model is a little bit different. And that's where I think any model, any successful business model should have revenue, it should have expenses, right? There's going to be a rhythm, and we're all going to have different rhythms. Some of us are going to be phone callers, some of us are going to be video makers, some of us will do billboards, car wraps, right? Like there's a lot of ways to get your audience in front of 50,000 or 100,000 people. It's not only social media.
Right.
That's just the way that my model is designed. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, that's your area of expertise and your
Mhm.
passion right now.
Mhm.
So talking about the lifestyle of revenues and looking at your fruit score, why would you want to look at, why should someone look at their fruit score, like over a 3-month period, or 1 month, 3 months, quarterly, like you were saying? Why would someone want to do that?
Yeah, so to me, it shows progress and it shows kind of this like excitement or understanding of what was my role in making that net profit. And when we don't understand our role in that, we're going to place blame. Oh, Facebook doesn't work. Oh, my VA didn't do her job. Oh, my husband's a jerk. Whatever, like people will blame versus taking responsibility. And I
Right.
want people to say, hey, look, I had 17 sales appointments and I closed 30% of them and I won. Or I'm in the middle of a personal chaos and I'm working on something new, but I didn't have any sales appointments and my result shows because
Mhm.
of that. Like that's empowering to know that we're controlling that revenue flow. We can go as fast or as slow as we want.
Also
Um,
seeing the trends, don't you think, like
yeah,
seasonal trends?
yep, absolutely. And the numbers,
Because traditionally they say the end of the year is where most retail businesses make, 80% of their business.
yep,
But that's not true of all businesses.
very true. We all have different industries are going to have different patterns for sure. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, if you haven't looked at your net profit for the last 3 to 6 months, I would encourage you all to go back and look and see, did you get a strawberry? Did you get an apple? Was it a pineapple? What do you want to make? Right? What effort is required for you to get to the pineapple or the cantaloupe? Because
Mhm.
it's a different effort. Maybe it's a different thing you sell, but it's just kind of, to me, it's like, otherwise you get this report, you see a number, see the positive or negative, and there's no thoughtful process around it. And I'm trying to get people to think critically and positively about the effort they are putting out there because they're
Right.
doing a lot most of the time. you know
Well, it also occurs to me that your analogy with the fruit and how, the blueberry, the strawberry, all the way up to the watermelon is really a great way to help people get comfortable with big numbers,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because one of the months I had years ago, $40,000 in a month. Cyndi, I thought it took a year to make that much money at that point in my career. I was shocked
Mm,
that that could
mm,
happen in 1 month on the internet. So
wow.
you start to realize the internet collapses time in a way that your traditional sales marketing doesn't work. But I
Right.
never want somebody to go from like blueberry and strawberry habits to 4 watermelons. Like there's got to be some momentum, there's got to be
Hmm.
some infrastructure built to handle that much revenue.
Right.
It's not common, but it's doable. And that's what's exciting when you really start to leverage your sphere, your gifts, your services, your, I don't know, enthusiasm for whatever you sell.
Hmm.
The game can change quickly.
So will this process help? I mean, do you feel like not everybody will this not it, this how do I say this? This process doesn't, I guess, resonate with everybody, right? Everybody, we're different learners, visual, kinesthetic, auditory. And so, what do you find about this method? How does it relate to most people?
Great question. So I've probably only even introduced this to maybe 100 to 200 people in the last 6
Okay.
months. I've been kind of doing a slow launch because I'm
Okay.
nervous. I'm excited. I'm like, how are people going to respond?
Sure.
Some people love it. Like one guy's like, this is juicy. This is fun. You know, some people like it.
Mhm.
Some people are like, I have a software. I'm fine with a spreadsheet. You know, some people are very analytical. They like
Right.
that. Uh,
And that's okay.
Absolutely. If
Yeah.
they're looking at their numbers, you know, my
Who's
goal
your
is,
target audience? You know,
yeah.
are you waking people up who, you know, I'm just going to use the example of our networking event. We had a number of members, we do takeaways afterwards, and there was just a lot of little, oh my gosh, you know, I see it in a new way and this is fun and it's not intimidating anymore. And other people were like, I don't get it. You
Yeah, no,
know, it's okay.
it's a little playful. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to say it, but it really is for the visual thinker.
Mhm.
Some people are audio digital, some people are kinesthetic, you know, like, and this is very much visual. If you like visuals,
Yes.
if you like patterns
Yes.
and fashion and beautiful food, like this is going to resonate with you. If you love your spreadsheet, this may also resonate because you could draw a little banana or strawberry next to the number. From a teaching tool, I think it's fairly universal in the sense that we all know what a fruit salad looks like. We all understand this idea of colorful fruit. We understand harvest for the most part, but I don't think it's the role of the bookkeeper and the accountant to get us excited to go make money, right? Like that's not necessarily their role. And I'm not sure whose role that is, but I've kind of just stepped in to say, hey, I have an idea. See if you like it. You
They're
know?
the bean counters, right?
Yeah.
They're the bean counters, and that's just a task. But I think who your audience is, you know, inspiring the person that the, like you say, the visual learner.
Visual. Yep. Well, I
And
have a whole nother metaphor with sports of like, is it a beach ball or a golf ball or a ping pong?
oh,
But like, I didn't want to go too much for the
right.
beach, but a man or
Depending on the audience, right?
yeah, a total jock can make this like super fun for sports fanatics. You know, like you could,
Mhm.
and that's the beauty of data art. The way you share, you get to choose your medium, right? So I say your data, your medium. If you want to use pen and paper, you know, black pen, red pen, blue pen, you can. If you want to use a box of crayons, you can. If you want to use watercolor or mixed media and cut up magazines, like it doesn't have to be in Canva, which is what I've, you know, shown you today. It can be in multiple ways. It's just noticing
Mm.
of the patterns.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I love that. Okay, I want to go back to the sphere of influence when you were talking about that. So, what is the purpose of outlining your sphere of influence? Why does that matter?
Yeah, so let's say you write a really important blog post for people in your industry and your customers, and you've got an email list of, you know, 90 people, and you email that list. What if you're also in a, you know, you've got other places where people gather, right? I don't open all my email because I know people are just marketing to me in there. So I try, like, that's not my first place to open. So I think email or your website, you can't, it's not guaranteed that it's gotten there. And so as you think about your distribution channels for your content or your sphere of influence, you may at different times of day, different days of the week, distribute that same information in a different or similar way. And this is the stuff that you can't outsource to somebody like me or a VA to do the distributing for you, right? It's really hard for somebody to say, hey, look at me, my video, my blog post, it's amazing. But if I say, hey, look at Chuck's video and article, it's amazing, like there's something that happens there. We can also take our, whether you call it a contribution team or your sales team, and say, hey, please share this video. Our goal is to get it to 10,000 views by Christmas, or by, you know, because if then people have something they can do, they feel more connected to the greater vision of that content. And a lot of times,
Mhm.
Cyndi, the problem is people don't have a vision for their content. And I've been telling people lately, if you don't have a goal of at least 100 views for your video, don't make the video. Like, don't waste your time, because if it's not going to even, if you can't picture, oh, this is going to help a ton of bloggers
Mhm.
or a ton of mommy soccer moms or a ton of, you know, senior citizens or a ton of teenage boys, like if there's not a vision for enough impact, why bother?
Right.
Right. So, but that sphere of influence, it's kind of this ambiguous idea, but to me, when you make it concrete with the circles or even a checklist, it's like, okay, I have the potential reach of up to 10,000 people here. Right. And that's
Mhm.
where in financial joy, one of the lines I wrote was to have a daily impact goal. Some days we just want to help 5 people. Some days we're like, okay, can I help 100? Can I help 1,000? What would it take to get to 10,000? So if we're not even in that question, the sphere is not as important. But like even with my surgery thing just this last week, I asked a question on Facebook because I wanted to talk to a real person who had a similar surgery. I posted it. It was bold. I don't normally talk about medical stuff on the internet, but I wanted to talk to a patient who had a similar thing. One of the people in my sphere of influence introduced me to a gal who had the exact surgery, and now I'm going to go have a second consult with a different surgeon because I wasn't satisfied with my first surgeon's answers. So from a personal perspective, and that's not even about me making money, that's about me taking care of my body, but how amazing that I found like the perfect person potentially from one status update, which was totally out of my businessy conversation. It was just a personal
Right.
tragic share. But
Right.
that's why your sphere of influence matters, is because those were all leads answering my post with prayers and condolences or whatever. It was like real people that know me and real people that I know saying, let us help you because I had a question.
Right.
That's why your sphere of influence matters.
That's a great example because I've seen a lot of your posts and they're always fun and creative, but that one drew me in because it was personal. You were being, authentic. You were being vulnerable, and you got a lot of traction. You got a lot of conversation from that, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's another point. It's, experimenting with what you get reaction from, whether, and you think, and other things you think, oh, this is going to get, people are going to really respond to this. You get crickets,
Yep.
So paying attention to that, right?
Yeah.
Is
And
important.
that's where back to the conversation piece is I'll often ask, Brian or my sister or people I'm close to, hey, did you see my video? No. Right. So the assumption is our peers see our video because we posted it. Half the time they don't see it or they don't watch it all. So I never assume that people saw the content. And so I'll ask people, hey, did you see the video? Would you like to? Do you have 10 minutes this week to watch a whole thing on Reels? Or, so that's where that conversation, we can't just ignore people. Like, especially if it's good content, we've got to kind of take responsibility for it to be consumed, because otherwise there's a good chance our ego and our assumption is there, and then it's like, well, they didn't even see it.
Right. I mean, it goes back to the magics and the follow-up, the fortunes and the follow-up. It's all about following up with people and, just putting it before their eyes, especially the influencers, right? And I like what you said about asking your team, your advocates to help share it as well, because then it's exponential. It's not just your, whatever you say, 1,000, I guess in our sphere of influence, we always talk about 150 to 250 people that we know times 10, right? If we ask 10 people to share that. Well, before we open the lines up for Q&A. So think, for those of you who are on the line, be thinking of if you have any questions or you want to share your epiphanies, your thoughts with us here. I wanted to just ask about Facebook groups. So do they really help businesses?
If we're willing to help,
how can they help with this whole process?
Yeah, if we're willing to help them first. And that's where, to me, a group, it's about, support, serve, and then eventually sell if there's a need. But it goes back to that sphere of influence and your plan of distributing content. Now, and I'm not saying drop a link and then run away, but like if people have a question and you've just written an article about that exact thing, why not add that blog post to the article? And if people keep asking questions and nobody has answers, maybe there's a way for your thoughtfulness or your resources to solve that. And that's where you can grow influence in the community by being helpful, by going to the events, by being a part of the conversation. If you're a first timer to a group, start with listening. What are these? And this is the thing with my political campaign last year that just drove me nuts, is my client had, well, I'm well known. And I was like, not in these groups, you're not, because I'm listening to them basically complain and criticize about politics in general. And I was like, you don't have authority in these online groups. You may have authority at the council, but not, so we need to think critically about how do we develop our voice and our knownness and our liked likability, if that's a word, in new spheres when maybe our voters or constituents or customers are living, because that's where the game can really change. And it's heartbreaking when people lose too. And I'm like, I wish you would have listened to me. You know, like in different industries hesitate on video for different reason. But had there been a way for video or the conversation to have been positive in that group and led by somebody that knew something, it could have totally changed the views of thousands of people, right? But if there's no leader in the group, it's just it becomes chaos and
right.
You know,
well, I love your concept when you join, because we're always encouraged, join different Facebook groups that you have an interest in. And the important thing is to be able to, like you say, serve and support, and when necessary, or when there's an opportunity. So I'm sure there's a ratio there, right? Like I call it the magic for following up. It's 5 to 1. It's 5 deposits to 1 withdrawal. So is it a similar kind of ratio, do you think, for Facebook in terms of just posting, serving, and supporting versus selling or asking of something?
So I'm in a networking group where I have like a sales team, looking for opportunities for me, right? And I can be in a group where I'm kind of an unknown person, but if 3 people tag my name, hey, Marcelle at Dreamosity can help you, there's a good chance I'm going to get that business. And this is where the sphere of influence, it's not just you being known, but it's training your sales team or your contribution team to go to bat for you, to know how to, like you always teach, know their statement, their connect statement, know how to tag their business, know how to introduce them. So you can have an authority in another group say something nice about you, and then you instantly get that authority / opportunity to talk to them about their needs. And so that's where groups it's not always about you being the most well-known person, but if somebody else recommends you,
right,
that's going to build momentum pretty quickly for you.
And we know that, right? We know shout outs and third-party testimonials are more powerful than us giving our commercial and, patting ourselves on the back and acknowledging ourselves. When we have somebody else that is your cheerleader, that's so much more powerful.
And the challenge is, though, had that person, like I had just been physical at an event with them the week before, talking about the Revenue Ringlet, like in social media, had I not been at that event physically, I probably wouldn't have been top of mind. Right. So it is this combination of online and offline.
Right. I love this. This is beautiful. So why don't we go ahead, and if anybody has any questions, unmute yourself and feel free to ask. I mean, this is a great opportunity. Don't miss it. Ask Marcelle any questions about the content that she shared today, or even if you have questions from our event we had last week. So
I have a question.
Go ahead, Judy.
How valuable is Facebook if you use it correctly?
Extremely valuable. I have colleagues right now making $10,000 to $20,000 to $40,000 a month from their online communities.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
I actually joined an online program because I was having some challenges with my own sales process, and it's literally like there are some communities where there are thousands of people paying to be there, right? So the leader of the group is making quite a bit of money. Like, so there's different models now. Selling, I'm not sure what you're selling these days, Judy, but depending on what you're selling, it may change. But like the membership model is extremely great for the consultant type. Right.
Yeah, I sell branded merchandise and commercial printing. Like logoed shirts and coffee mugs and business cards and calendars and all that kind of stuff.
So when you're not actively working with the customer to fulfill the order, what are you doing with your day?
Not much.
Yeah. So and that's what I say, that extra time, if you were to say find 5 groups that you're just going to be there, contribute, ask questions, share if somebody says show us a video of your weekend, show us a picture of your weekend, right? So sometimes you just have to participate and show up. But eventually they're going to say, hey, it's promo Friday, share an offer, or it's a success Saturday, share a success story. And then you dive in with something, all of a sudden you get 3 phone calls, right? And then eventually you don't have time for Facebook because you got so much business, and then it slows down again. So like, I mean, it's better to be on Facebook and a couple of groups networking than watching reruns of some show, so if you're trying to have new conversations and you're not tired of, but your current community already knows you and you're not getting it, you need to find new circles of influence. Go be influential, go inspire people to have better, branding and printing, or, and that's where the content from your successes could become video content. So we're like, oh, I didn't even know that was possible. Like, I bet you could do things with financial joy that I've never even thought about doing. But until you motivate me and inspire me to consider something, I'm not even thinking about it,
Yeah.
And things shift too, because Judy was, showed up every month to our Exceptional Connections networking events prior to COVID. COVID happened. She kept, she continued to show up for our online, but then we went back to live and she hasn't been around. So people have forgotten, frankly, that Judy is, has resources that our community can use. So to be able to plug into the online community is really important, right?
Yes.
And the other thing you could do is create your own group, because then you get to set the rules, you get to set the tempo, you get to lead and initiate the conversation. And that's where people are like, well, they always say it's no promo zone. Well, then create your own community that would be value enough. Say a business owner who just got their logo and their first business card. What are all those cool branding things that we could be planning for conferences and retreats and work, like the typical Joe Blow just starting out has no idea what's possible. We could show it to them.
But she could do her own, like a promotional, well, she has an affiliated business, American Business Solutions, but she could do her own as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. When you create the Facebook group, maybe
Judy's promo, favorite promos or something like that.
Judy's promo zone. And maybe you let other people promote their stuff and you start to realize, okay, well, Marcelle's talking about the Revenue Ringlet on video, but she doesn't have a pen, or you'll start to identify where people they're doing their best, but maybe you're like, your best could be so much more, right? So you come along and you elevate their current promotions with the things you know how to do.
Gotcha.
Right. So you're looking for opportunity to serve. And that's just like, well, what else could she do? What else could he do? So you're looking for ways to win. And some people will listen, some won't, but and that's what's interesting.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, everybody's advertising and marketing budget in my mind changes every month. Like some people are like, oh, it's just $250 a month or $1,000 a month. There are some people that last month they had no money, and this month they got an extra $6,000 in their account.
Gotcha.
Right. There are some people that last month they had $6,000 and this month they have 100,000 because something happened. Right. They inherited, so the world of money is always changing. And this is where somebody's marketing budget today is not what we can't assume it's static. And I know for a fact, because revenue changes, things are changing. And the more you get aware of money, you realize how much there is to get, to give, and to appreciate. And that's where I'm saying, you got to appreciate both sides, not just when I get it, but when you get it. I'm like, yay, she made a sale. That means she can, keep coming to ECN, and she can maybe you can evolve. And we're all in that evolution. It's just, we have different challenges every month and different opportunities each month.
That's very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. So anybody else, feel free to just unmute yourself. Chuck.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is relevant to this conversation, but one thing I've been trying to wrap my mind around with all this, the marketing and the different platforms and whatnot, is I just wonder, especially like yourself, you're such an expert in this field of media, helping people, kind of like sales funnels and things like this. I just wonder what impact you feel, or what role do you feel like artificial intelligence might come into this? Because I sense that it's creating false experts, and that people really don't understand what they're doing, but they're using artificial intelligence. I'm starting to see this, and it's concerning, so.
Yeah, I probably started hearing people chirp about it maybe 6 months ago, and I've been watching various people. I've not done much with it personally because to me, it's easy to create content. I don't need software right now to tell me 7 tips on social media. I can come up with 7 tips on that. I get how it could be useful for me if I'm managing, say, an insurance account and I don't know much about insurance and I want some ideas. I think the game is going to change very quickly. And I think that from my point earlier about a lot can happen in 30 days, the marketplace will continue to change. Some of us will still be here in 10 years. Some of us, like, it's going to change. And I don't know how fast. I'm trying not to let it be fearful, because I do see like DAs and social media managers, like, we could get replaced by software and tech. I get that, right? And I'm looking at ways to stay innovative and stay relevant and valuable. From a visual perspective, I think the software can create things that almost look too perfect. And I find beauty from an artist when they say, hey, look, I made this thing, like, or the process videos, right? So process videos are huge on Instagram right now. Seeing the process of a software do something, it's not that exciting. Like, sure, it's neat, but to me, like, I want to see Kathy Miller do her painting, show the, like, from a person to person thing, right? Now, there's a lot of things that are still unknown, and I'm treading cautiously. Like, I was a very fast mover with Pinterest, had a lot of big wins with Pinterest. I'd never jumped on TikTok. AI, I'm just kind of watching, but I get that every month it's going to be different. The way we market, 5 years ago, we weren't doing videos every day. Now people can do a video every day easily, which is just bonkers to me. On day one, nobody, like, it was so, so like, it's going to evolve, and hopefully we evolve with it. But I would encourage you to look at your own patterns of sales and marketing. And if you try something with AI and you get 15 more phone calls, awesome, celebrate that. If it just distracts you and you don't actually talk to people because of it, well, go back to what works, which might be belly to belly or on the phone, so I would not stop everything you're doing to go somewhere new, like, go slow if you do make a change. But I'm a fan of technology in general, so embrace what you can, leave what you don't like. But
I have a question, and Kathy, if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. I know you jumped in towards the end here, but you heard most of the content in our live event. So Marcelle, you mentioned the no promo zone for Facebook groups. What do you recommend doing with people that don't honor that and they just are always posting things? I always want to be diplomatic when I'm dealing with people. I don't want to shut them off or be rude, but at the same time, we do have our, expectations. Do you just hide them, and when you hide them, is it only hiding them from my perspective, or does it hide them if I'm an admin from across the board?
Yeah, so it can be tricky. I'm trying to show here. One of my deck icons is social media policy. And I encourage, as you have more challenges, you need to define the best practices and the rules of your organization and your community. And you have to define what is your willingness to either fire somebody, remove them from a group, ban them from a group. I mean, I have banned people from a group because I have minor English speaking groups. If you're coming in speaking some foreign language, bye-bye. Like, I'm not an international company at that level, but I have that defined to where it was easy to choose. If you've got some repeat offenders of people you probably like, unfortunately, like, they're good people.
That's the problem.
And that's where the other thing is. So copywriting tends to be a sales scripting and persuasion thing, but you can also use copywriting to have difficult conversations, whether it's in like a marriage or a parental thing or with business contacts, saying, these are my expectations. You've broken it 3 times now. What I'd like you to do is either not do it again. Like, you've got to script and mediate essentially that conversation. I'm happy to help you with that if you want. I've got some pretty good terms and stuff, and I've definitely had some heart to hearts with people, some successful, not all of them, unfortunately. And some people just they get too hurt and they'll just leave. But if it's your space designed for your purpose, and if they don't want to follow that, tell them to go make their own group.
Right.
I tell people all the time, go make your own group. If you don't like the rules, make your own.
Right.
Kathy,
go ahead.
I want to add to that, because on Heart to Heart, we have several rules, like you cannot email out in masses to any of the members without permission. And we had one that she put everybody on her email listing and just kept sending and sending and sending and sending. And our leader finally had to talk to her and tell her and ask her to leave the group because it was a rule, you know, it was in writing. It said at every single meeting, and she just inundated everybody with these emails and texts and everything. So it was in writing, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
One of my gals from a different community on Instagram, she uses her stories, like the stories disappear after a while, right? So she'll pop on there and say, hey, everybody, thanks for a great event. Here's 3 things I really liked, and here's 1 thing I want us to work on next time, right? So part of it is also leading by example, teaching, praising, and occasionally saying, nah, we don't do that here. We have a better, different, you know, so part of that, Cyndi, you developing your voice and sticking to it. And maybe so early, one of my early Facebook group courses, we talked about a butterfly and a bouncer. Maybe I'm the butterfly and I'm all cheery in the group, and maybe Chuck's role is to be the bouncer. All right, Susie here is being inappropriate, we're kicking her out, you know, like, because it's hard for the butterfly to be the bouncer, right? Like I get that. And I think Cyndi, you're the butterfly, maybe Chuck, maybe I'd be your bouncer, right? But you could hire somebody or have a colleague who has a different emotional attachment to them. Say, all right, you're out for 30 days, or you're get, you know, 90-day. Facebook kicks a lot of stuff all the time if we break rules. So
at the beginning of meetings, you know, maybe you should add in some rules, or I don't want to call it rules, but just, you know, hey, you know, this is ECN and this is so what you can and, you know, cannot, please do not do, you know, that's the thing. You know how to word it. I'm right now not really wordy.
Yeah, no, and raising my kids, my mantra was always affection, correction, direction. And so that same kind of a, you know, philosophy can be used.
Yeah. And there are some groups out there, Cyndi, too, where the owner of the group can get paid for, like, say, if I wanted to do a promotion for the Revenue Ringlet, I might pay $50 to have your cover photo, still ECN branded, but like I might get that spot to do a kind of, think of your group as like your office building. You're doing a promotion on the window for somebody.
Sure.
They'll pay you for that space, just like you would do for a vendor table. Right? So some groups, people are willing to pay for visibility. So look at that as maybe a new stream of income.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I want to honor your time and thank you so much. Before we close, though, I want you to offer, if you have an offer. I don't know if you wanted to make the same offer that you made to our community, or if there's something, you know, somebody wants to learn more, where would they go?
Yeah, so the revenueringlet.com is where I'm sending people for that ongoing program, the Revenue Ringlet, where on the 11th and the 22nd of the month, I'm going to be open for 4 hours of office hours. So from 10 to 2, basically to field questions, to look at your P&L, to help you storycraft a video, to look at your analytics, to talk about, you know, how do we kick out this jerk from our group, you know, how do we, like, what do you think of this marketing idea? So it's kind of going to be a space where you get to come in, network with people. Right now there's 18 people in it. It's only really been 1 or 2 people every hour. Like it's been pretty nice. So it feels like one-to-one coaching. It's $800 lifetime access through July 31st. So you can either do like $110 a month for 8 months or that. And then just know this, because you guys are all in my marketing sphere. As of August 1st, I'm bumping it to $2,000, and I'm going to offer a 50% affiliate fee. So if Cyndi were to bring me 3 people that bought in at $2,000, she could get a quick, is that $3,000? So I'm going to be having a JV model for that, which is something new for me. I've not actually done that for my own stuff. I've done it for other people's stuff, but I want to get more people in there, and I'm willing to incentivize people to do that. So get in now before. And then if you have questions on that sales page at the revenueringlet.com, there's a place to book a 15-minute call. Maybe you're like, Marcelle, I don't know. Like, get on my calendar. Let's talk about it. Because if you're not sure, I can tell you if it's going to be good for you or not. And I'm not taking just everybody, right? I want you to really be able to be in that position to get benefit from it. And you'd be also wonderful to work with and amplify and get your financial joy closer to existence in your own home and your own business, because it's possible.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. And also they can go to dreamosity.com, your website,
Yep,
to learn more
that's-
about you,
Yep, absolutely.
or even contact you. Can I give you your email address?
Yeah, so Marcelle@dreamosity.com. I'll just type in here.
Okay, I added that to I'll add that to the description.
Perfect. And then yeah,
those,
call,
so-
text, schedule an appointment. You'll guaranteed to get my time. Sometimes I'm
Perfect.
like, I
And
follow
I-
my day by my calendar, you
I
know.
apologize for being late. I thought it was at noon.
Oh, well, we changed it this
Yeah.
month, so you're fine. It just,
know.
this was an aberration in the schedule to,
I got to see you guys, so what the heck?
yeah,
Well,
so no,
watch
it's
the
great.
recording, Kathy. Watch the recording because you missed all the pretty visuals that I knew you were gonna love. So watch the recording.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah,
Marcelle, I really have a problem, don't I?
She
Okay,
did a
we'll
nice
be in there.
overview, which is helpful for those who didn't attend. So thank you for doing that. So Marcelle, leave us with some parting words of wisdom you would like to share with our community before we sign off here.
Well, a lot can happen in 30 days, and you can't be remarkable just once. You got to stay remarkable. Keep up the good work.
True.
I love that. That's so true. We have to stay in
Mhm.
front of people, right? So if you have enjoyed this Conversation to Connect episode, I invite you to take a moment and like, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss our next Conversation to Connect. And so my parting words are, remember to make every connection an exceptional connection. Thanks for joining us.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Hi, Kathy.
Bye.
Hi, Judy.